Sweep picking is a technique that I use a lot on my albums and in my soloing. Sweeping basically allows us to play lines or arpeggios that are very difficult to play with alternate picking or with some other technique. But what one should not forget is that the main point there should be clarity, precision, and articulation. What I mean by that is that our sweep picking should sound as precise as alternate picking. A commonly overlooked thing is that sweep picking patterns or sweep picking sequences are not just sweep picked. There is very often pull-offs and hammer-ons involved as well, like in this example. Now in this example, I used a pull-off before getting into sweep picking. Yeah. So these two notes are on the same string, so I can use a pull-off, while these other two are on adjacent ones, so sweep picked. I will now show you another example in A minor pentatonics, which involve alternate picking combined with sweep picking. What I did there, the first two notes I played alternate picked, starting with an upstroke. Sweep, sweep, upstroke, sweep, sweep. So if you want to play that figure on all other strings, so sweep picking is whenever a pick crosses from one string to the other in this fashion, and no matter if it's over 2 strings or over 6 strings, it's always called sweep picking for that particular motion that defines it. So the key thing would be to keep the clarity going and to avoid situations where only one note is heard, the first one and the last one, like that. So a lot of people make that kind of mistake and they forget that the very important part is the rhythm that the sweep is actually done, and so we have to do it like in tempo, not like play one part faster and one part slower, and basically just hear one blurry. No. So what I strive for usually is clarity. And I like to keep it as clean and as my attack as powerful as when I'm playing alternate picking. So the way I do this is I make sure that the pick falls across the strings on a slight angle. Like this, almost like when I'm playing alternate picking. So after one note is played, the pick is immediately going down to the next string while this first note is still audible. If you understand what I mean. On the way back, I like to make a slight rotating motion with my hand. I found it kind of helpful, almost like treating the pick as a violinist would, like play with his bow. I found that little twist there like helps articulate better. I will show you a very basic arpeggio on 3 strings, A minor, and you will see how I actually play it. So what I do is, I play this part sweeping, and the last note can either be hammer-on or it can be picked. I like to pick that note. And I make a pull-off, make an upstroke, and upstroke again. So I end the phrase with an upstroke. I start it with a downstroke, yes. If, on the other hand, you want to loop that arpeggio, like then I would advise you to play the last note, which is actually the first note as well, with the downstroke. But keep in mind when you do an arpeggio like this, and use the pull-off, in the moment that the pull-off is made, the pick is already positioned at the next string to play that following note. Also, another thing, you can actually vary the sound of the performance by slightly muting the strings if you like to, or you can actually keep the strings completely open, so to speak. I will show you an A minor 7 arpeggio, which I will mute at the bridge with my right palm. And I can keep the palm off the strings, and then you will have this kind of sound. So. Whatever you prefer. Now regarding the left hand, it of course depends on what you're playing and which kind of interval structure you are trying to sweep pick, but I personally like to help the definition of the arpeggio by lifting the fingers whenever possible in this manner. I don't like to leave my fingers sort of like planted and have that kind of effect. I prefer to slightly lift them following the movement of my right hand. But sometimes there are some shapes which, when sweep picked, are not possible to be performed with fingers lifted off the fretboard. So a trick that one might use is to slightly follow the roll of the sweep with the hand, like in this example. You see what my index is doing. If we would play an A minor arpeggio, I'm playing this one on purpose so that you can see this barring. I would also roll my index, releasing the strings that I'm not playing. Releasing the third, releasing the second, playing the first string. So I'm never really holding it planted like that and just going. No. I found that cleaner sounding. One other thing that I would mention is that muting, palm muting and the left hand muting that I spoke of before is very important to keep the sweep picking clean.